this is Jason Porter here with the Red Hat Developers Program, here with Edson.
Yeah.
Edson. Edson is one of our tech evangelists. He goes out and talks about, primarily right now, is microservices. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Now, you said you're working about microservices and microservices databases.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot about microservices and DevOps in the past 3 years. And the number one question that always arises when people are discussing about microservices is that I have a huge monolithic application, and that application still uses a huge monolithic relational database.
Right.
How do I deal with that?
Yep.
And
Do I need to replicate it with all the different services? Does everyone talk to the same database? Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
People have a lot of doubts, and I didn't have an answer for that. That's why I've decided in the past 2 years to do some research.
Well, for what it's worth, I haven't heard any really good answers either, so hopefully you'll provide some good ones.
Yeah, well, I hope if I don't have the answer, at least I have a lot of more questions, which were, well, I've discussed it with a lot of different teams and people worldwide about how they were doing this splitting and integration later.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to collect all of them and write a book about it. So I just launched a book from O'Reilly, Microservices Databases, from Relational Monolith to Distributed Data, where I discussed the challenges behind zero downtime migrations, and also how can we, after we split the monolith, or at least a piece of it, how can we integrate this data later?
Okay.
So a lot of buzzwords that we're discussing these days, like secure IS, event sourcing, or consistency models, I've tried to explain in the most possible simple way for people. Well, it's not that far from what you currently understand, but I think you can apply all of this knowledge to try to solve this problem.
Okay.
So I've collected at least 9 different techniques for you to integrate that, and I've been discussing and presenting this topic in a lot of different developer sessions worldwide, and also it's available in the book.
Oh, very good. Now, of those 9 different techniques that you have, what do you see being used most frequently?
Okay, the most used one is undoubtedly database materialized views, but of course it's not one of my favorites. And if I had to choose 2 of my favorite integration techniques, I would pick data virtualization. You can use something like JDV, JBoss Data Virtualization Platform for creating your virtual databases, so you can play with your database, with your microservices database structure before applying that to the physical database. So that's a very cool scenario. And the other
is that are you using that in a layer in between the application and the database?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you have your monolith, you have your database. You just create a virtual database between that changes nothing. But then you can play, maybe I can split this part in a separate microservice database, but that's too risky because we're dealing without persistent information.
Sure. Yeah.
But since it's virtualized, you can create another virtual database and you can play that and you can still be on the safe side because your physical database didn't change at all. That's why I think it's the safest approach for doing this integration and migration.
Okay. Now, when you end up applying that, do you load up everything inside DataGrid or just certain bits and pieces of it?
It really depends on your use cases. Most of the people that I've been able to discuss about that, they already had data virtualization. So it was kind of easy because everything was already set up. You just had to split it up. I still have to find a scenario where they didn't have deployed it already to see if it was interesting to just load a bit or load everything at once.
Okay, very good, very good. And what about microservices do you find the most interesting?
Well, microservices, I think it's a solution for a problem that most teams don't have yet, but they don't realize that.
Okay? That's very true, yes.
So I don't have a favorite microservice. I like to find teams and systems that have specific problems, and for some of them, microservices might be the solution.
Right.
But I also like to say that microservices is not the goal. The goal is always to try to reduce your batch size so you can release your lead time and cycle time of the process. If you're trying to achieve that and you find that the microservice will solve this problem for you, then go for it. or else you can solve this problem using different methods.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I know in some of the other talks that I've been to and seen, and even people talking about it out in the community, a lot of times it feels like microservices is a solution looking for a problem. Or at least, hey, I heard this great thing about microservices or Docker or containers or whatever it might be. We should go do it. Well, maybe.
Yeah, and another question is that, Netflix is doing that.
Oh, yes.
Amazon is doing that.
We need to do it.
Yeah, if it's good for them, it's good for us. Well, not exactly.
Right.
Not really. So I always like to, and in fact, the great thing about my job is that I'm able to try to help developers worldwide trying to create better software and deploy that safely into production. So I like the mission of having to share knowledge so that instead of people having other people, outsiders, making the decisions for them, I like just to share knowledge. So I like to empower people so you can choose the best option for you. So that's why I like about everything I've been doing the past years.
Oh, very good, very good. And Edson goes and travels a lot. What's your next stop after Summit?
Well, I'll be, unfortunate for my family, I'll be traveling, I'm already traveling non-stop because I went to São Paulo for KubeCon São Paulo. Now this week I'm here at Boston Red Hat Summit.
Yep.
Tomorrow I'm going back to Brazil to TDC Florianópolis. And from there I'm visiting the French guys from Riviera Dev. Then I'll do a quick stop on Riga, Latvia, on Riga Dev Days. And another jump to Malaga, Jay on the Beach. From there, I'll stay a couple of days in Brazil, then going to Vox, Singapore.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Only the next 3 weeks.
Excellent. And like you said, your book just was recently released. What was the title of that again?
Microservices databases from relational monolith to distributed data. It's available as a free download on the developers.redhat.com website. And I'm also tweeting a lot about it, and this, not only about the subject and the book, but a lot of the different interesting things for developers. So I like to give a tip to you. If you want to follow me at my Twitter handle, at Yanaga, Yanaga, and don't mistake, I'm Brazilian, right? I'm a Brazilian Japanese, that's why it's at Yanaga. Then you can have a lot of different news and content that I'll be sharing in the following weeks and months.
Very good. And if you happen to miss anything from Edson, we also retweet a lot of his stuff on the Red Hat Developers Twitter as well. So thanks again. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.